Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome to $3 Theater. And I have to laugh at this. I do. I have to laugh at this because I've seen this headline floating around today, and I thought to myself, what? Okay, why is everyone running with this? And then it leads me to believe Star Wars is in a state of turmoil, right? I mean, you could kind of argue to an extent that you already know that Star Wars is in a bit of a state of turmoil. It's been that way for a while. The fans, the money, the influence, the merch, it's all kind of iffy at the moment, but that could change if there's a change in leadership in Lucasfilm. And we've been hearing about this now since August when it was reported that Kevin Feige was going to be taking on a Star Wars movie. And now today we're getting this headline here. Kevin Feige runs Marvel, but his first love is Star Wars. Now, this dude has been instrumental to rechanging the game of Hollywood, right? Kevin Feige is an amazing producer. And I keep saying this. In my opinion, he is the most powerful producer in Hollywood. He could probably have you killed and it wouldn't impact the box office of any movie. I'm just saying. That's probably what it would be. However, this is about Star Wars, right? So let's find out more. So it says here that this is coming from the author. I'm convinced that Star Wars is at a turning point here. So far, Disney's approach since taking over the franchise simply hasn't worked as well as they'd hoped, and a rush to get episodes 7 through 9 out there has left us with a trilogy that doesn't feel connected to each part, never mind the supposed end of the whole damn saga. Now, we don't know what's going to happen next in Star Wars. We only know that sometime in the future, Marvel president Kevin Feige is going to be producing a Star Wars movie. I've always thought Feige would be a great replacement for Kathleen Kennedy, whose contract is up next year, though my colleagues are all convinced running Star Wars and Marvel is too much even for Feige. Well, there's a delegation is a big part of that, but it's like, Feige's very big picture in a lot of ways, but he also is going to be like, he's also very hands-on too in some ways. And if he's dedicated enough, he would find a way to make it work. All right. He was very much involved in Spider-Man Homecoming, and he was involved in Spider-Man Far From Home. And he's clearly going to be involved in this next one, and Star Wars and Marvel TV and all the Disney Plus stuff. The dude's got a lot on his plate right now. Like I keep saying, he's the most powerful dude. Anyway, so it says here, so will it be one movie, a series of movies, or something else? We're gonna have to wait and see on this one. As for whether Feige is the right person to change Star Wars' fortune, one person is in no doubt. That would be Avengers Endgame co-director Joe Russo, who recently spoke with The Hollywood Reporter, and he was clear about how much Feige loves Star Wars and gave some insight, saying here that Star Wars is Kevin Feige's first and true love. He's a man who has very, very large basement filled with enough Star Wars paraphernalia to fill a museum. Whatever he does with it is going to be passionate, emotional, and unique. Now, there's a reason why they're putting this out there. All right. Now, the thing is, there's not much more with this here, right? So anyway, go back up. All right. When we think about Kevin Feige, and not even Feige, when we think about Star Wars, as I said before, it's in turmoil, right? There's a lot going on with it right now. We don't quite know everything just yet behind the scenes, but we do know that there have been a lot of problems. There's been a lot of issues, and Kathleen Kennedy, God love her, she's not very well suited to run this type of industry because, you got to look at it like this. Lucasfilm was purchased. It came with it Star Wars, Indiana Jones, LucasArts, Skywalker Sound, Industrial Light and Magic, and a whole slew of other properties, like Willow, for example. But Bob Iger wanted her to focus solely on Star Wars to get that up to speed. So a lot of people kind of associate the purchase of Lucasfilm as just being the purchase of Star Wars, even though there's a lot more there than that's what's going on. But when Kennedy, who is an experienced producer, nearly 4 decades now, as a producer, that she has been, instrumental in crafting a lot of our childhoods. The joke I like to make is that she's had her fingers in our childhood, and she's very good at that. But when it comes to being a producer, being a good producer doesn't necessarily translate to being a good studio head. One of the reasons why Tom Rothman was brought back into Sony was because Rothman is a penny pincher. He can get budgets back on track. That's what Sony wanted him to do, and they've since recently not been doing very well. Because he also has no vision, in my mind. And Kathy doesn't have a vision either, because I think her vision is hindered by Bob Iger. I think her vision is hindered by the corporate machine that is the House of Mouse. I really believe that. If she were to tackle everything on a standard one-by-one project, I think she'd be okay. But when they wanted a trilogy, when they wanted anthologies, when they wanted spin-off shows, when they wanted books, when they wanted all of these things, that is not in her wheelhouse. There's a reason why Lucas, while technically like the CEO of the company, he had taken a very large step back, and he had brought in Micheline Chow, who was the CFO, former CFO. She was the head of Lucasfilm for 10 years almost. But before then, she was the CFO for 11 years. So she was a finance person. She got it. She played the angle, played the money. She helped rebuild it from that perspective. Kathy is not that kind of producer. Kathy's the kind of person who you go, okay, we want to make this movie. Let's go get a director. Let's get a script. Let's go put this together. And that's my job. Now, Feige, on the other hand, his job is something that is vastly, vastly, vastly more complicated. He has, to his absolute credit, redefined modern cinema. And I know I keep saying that, and I stand by that. He has created over 20 films that are all part of one continuous timeline that have grossed over $20 billion. And they're showing no signs of slowing down. In fact, they're only expanding. And I think as a result of that, he wants to also make sure that Star Wars is good. So when we see this quote from Joe Russo, and we're seeing it passed around, I think it was planted. I think it was planted in order to reassure the fan base that Feige is still on board and Feige is still poised to take over Star Wars. I still think it's going to happen because it's the most logical choice. Now, whether or not he is hands-on or they absorb Star Wars or Lucasfilm into Marvel Studios, which would probably make the most amount of sense, and then he handpicks the capo who will then run that division and oversee those projects while he helps fine-tune them, that could be something. And I think he would do it. I think he would do it because it's Star Wars, just like he would do it for Spider-Man. Feige is a nerd above all else, but he's also very smart. He knows how to get this stuff done. He knows how to pick the right people, and he knows how to play these games. And that is ultimately at this point what Star Wars needs, is someone who knows how to play the game, to get it back on track, to get audiences engaged again, to get them talking about it positively, and to make sure that people show up in the theaters and everything grosses as much money as humanly possible, while people are thoroughly entertained, even if it does come across as slightly homogenistic as time goes on, because that is one of the downsides of the MCU, is that it does kind of feel relatively the same. And I think that's why with Phase 4, they're going to be moving into the cosmic, and that's going to be a little bit different. Anyway, I'm kind of getting all over the place here. If there's one person in Hollywood that could probably save Star Wars right now, it would be Feige. I think Feige would look at Dave Filoni as a creative and go, you have built all this stuff up. I want you to take what you need to do and run with it, and we'll put the right people with you in order to make sure that it's as good as it could be. And that's how you build these teams. That's not what Kathy did. For some reason, a producer who should know how to do all this did not do it. And it is mind-boggling at the end of the day. It's mind-boggling that she didn't do it. She should have done it. I don't know why she didn't. Like, she's good at these sort of things. Or maybe not. Maybe I've been giving her way too much credit. Maybe she's been there. And people are going to probably say, yeah, you've been giving her way too much credit, Matt. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. You don't have a 40-year career in Hollywood that puts you in this position unless you actually have some talent. But then again, she's been around Lucas and Spielberg and her husband, Frank Marshall, and they've been working together. And maybe that's the problem. She works better in a team. And with Lucasfilm, she didn't have that team. She went out on her own, and it just didn't work out the way that she wanted it to. And that's fine. That's fine. But now that it's been 7 years, it's time to move on. Right? Maybe Star Wars broke a mirror 7 years ago. That 7-year bad luck streak, man. Maybe we can move past it. I have no idea. But put Feige in charge, and I think things are going to be okay. You put Feige in charge, I think everything's going to be just fine. And again, that's just my opinion. You are free to take it, leave it, whatever you feel you got to do with it. But be sure to leave your comments below, like, all that jazz. Have yourself a great day, everybody, and peace out. Hey, thank you very much for watching the video. If you want to keep the conversation going, and if you've made it this far, you clearly do, come on in and join the Discord. Link is in the video description. Can't wait to see you there. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.